advance. Today I'm going to record for you a lesson. This is lesson 4 in topic 1, and the title of the lesson is calculating enthalpy change. Now the first question that comes to our mind is, what is the meaning of enthalpy? What does it mean when I say enthalpy? Enthalpy is another word for heat, which is energy that flows from hot objects to cold objects. Now when I say enthalpy change, means the change in enthalpy, its symbol will be delta H. And as you know, delta, whenever you see delta, this is final minus initial. In chemistry, the final is, if we have a reaction going from reactants to products, the final is products and the initial is reactants. So here delta H will be H final or H products minus H initial or H reactants. So this is the way to calculate delta H in today's lesson. Now, first of all, the rules that should be followed. Let me insert a page for you and remind you with some of the rules. If I have a reaction saying 2A is becoming B and delta H for this reaction is 100 kilojoules. Now, what happens if I reverse the reaction? If I reverse the reaction, this means it will be B giving me 2A and delta H, simply I change the sign. So if it was positive, I will say this is minus 100 kilojoules. What happens if I multiply a reaction by a number? For example, I multiplied it by 3. Multiply this reaction by 3, so this will be 6A giving me 3B. So delta H will be also multiplied by 3. 100 times 3, this is 300 kilojoules. Now, what if I divide by a number? For example, I divide the reaction by 2. Okay, so 2 over 2, this will give me 1A, gives me 1 over 2B. What happens to delta H? Also divided by 2, so the answer will be 50 kilojoules. So these are the rules that should be followed. If you reverse the reaction, you reverse the sign of delta H. If you multiply by a number, you multiply delta H by the same number. If you divide by a number, you divide delta H by the same number. Now let's see what are the types of questions that you might be getting in the exam. This is one important question, which is you have this equation, you have this reaction, and you need to find delta H for this reaction by using these 4 reactions. Okay, so we will start. For sure, we will add the reactions, but before we add them, we have to do some changes for them. These changes could be reversing a reaction or multiplying a reaction by a number, or it depends on how the main one is. For example, here we have 2CH4. Now, the first thing you need to do is to search for CH4 in these reactions. Where is CH4? Here it is. Okay, now the coefficient is 2, and I want the coefficient should be 2. Here the coefficient is 1. So what should I do with this reaction to make this 2? I will multiply this reaction by 2. And one more thing, here CH4 is a product and I want it to be a reactant. So what will I do with this reaction? I will reverse. Okay, so let's write this reaction reverse and multiplied by 2. So when I reverse this reaction, it will be CH4 giving me C and H2. Now I'll multiply by 2. So this one will be 2CH4, 2C, and 2 times 2, this is 4. Now, what do I do with delta H? If I reverse, I will opposite the sign. If I multiply by 2, I will multiply this whole number by 2, 74.9 times 2. Okay, now I need 2 and H3. Where is an H3? And H3 is here. Is it multiplied by 2? Yes, it's already multiplied by 2. Okay, it's already multiplied by 2, but the problem is that here is a product and here I want it to be a reactant. So what will I do? I will reverse this reaction only without multiplying it by anything. So when I reverse this reaction, it will be 2 and H3 gives me N2 plus 3H2. Now I reverse the sign of delta H. So this one will be plus 91.8. Usually the O2, we leave it alone. Oxygen, we don't fix it. It will be fixed alone. Okay. Now I have 2HCN. 2HCN is here. Okay. I want it to be 2 and here it's already 2. This is a product and this is a product. So what will I do with this reaction? I will keep it the same. So I will copy this 2C plus H2. This will give you, plus N2. Okay, plus N2. This will give you 2HCN, and the delta H will be the same, plus 270.3. Now I want 6H2O. 6H2O is the H2O is here. Here product and here is a product, so I'm not going to reverse the reaction. But the problem is that here it's 2 and here it's 6. How can I make it 6? So this reaction will be multiplied by 3. Multiply this reaction by 3, you will get 6H2 plus 3O2. This will give you 6H2O, and delta H will be multiplied by 3. Minus 579, you multiply it by 3. Now, when I add these 4 reactions, be careful. Every reaction should be used only once. And I should use all the reactions. I should not leave any reaction behind. Okay? So use each reaction once and do not leave any reaction behind. Now, when I add these 4 reactions, I should get this reaction. And I add the delta H's, it should give me this value. Okay, now before I add, let's see if anything could be cancelled. يعني نفس الإشي in the reactant and in the product it is repeated. Okay, we have here 2C and 2C. We have here N2 and N2. لاحظوا I cancel product مع reactant. Product مع reactant. Okay, I have 3H2 and 4H2. These are both in the product, so this is 7H2. Here I have 6H2 and 1H2, so this is also 7H2. 7 and 7, this will cancel each other. Now anything else to be cancelled? Finished. Now what is left? We have 2CH4 plus 2NH3 plus 3O2. This will give me 2HCN plus 6H2O. Now, is this one the same like this one? Yes. If this one is not the same like this one, means you have done something wrong. Now, how much is delta H? We add all these together and we find delta H. Okay, now the value of delta H will be minus 1225.1. Minus 1225.1. طبعا اليونت كيلو جول نفس هاي. Kilojoule. Now I think pause the video and repeat the same question, and you solve it by yourself so that you will learn what changes should be done for the reactions. Okay, now let's do another question. This question says you have this reaction and you need to find delta H for this reaction by using these 2 reactions. Now this one is easier because you have only two reactions to change. Same what we did before. I want P4O6. Where is it here? Okay, I want the coefficient to be 1, and here the coefficient is 1. But this is a product, and I want it to be a reactant. So what will I do with this? I will reverse this reaction. Okay, when I reverse it, it will be P4O6 will give me P4 plus 3O2, and delta H will be plus 1640. I reverse the sign. Now O2 will be fixed by itself, we don't worry about it. Then we have P4O10, it is here. It's a product and here product. Coefficient 1, coefficient 1. So I'm not going to change. This one will be the same. So I will copy this one. P4 plus 5O2 will give me P4O10, and I'm not going to change the delta H, minus 2940. Now I will add, and before I add, I will cancel similar things. We have P4 here and P4 here. We have 3O2 and 5O2, so 2O2 will be left. Now let's see what is left. P4O6 plus 2O2, this will give me P4O10. Is this one? This one? Yes, this means that my work is correct. And now you add these 2 delta H's and you get the answer. Okay, so the answer will be minus 1300. So delta H is equal minus 1300. طبعا اليونت كيلو joules. Now, is this reaction exothermic or endothermic? Now, because delta H is negative, so the reaction is exothermic. Now again, pause the video and repeat the same question by yourselves to check if you understood or you did not. Okay, now we have the heat delta HF. Whenever you see a delta HF, F means formation. Type. For example, how can I form an ACl? In order to form an ACl, I need Na and Cl. How can I form H2O? H2 and O. How can I form AgCl? Ag and Cl. So this is the heat of formation. Heat of formation means making the compound from its elements. Okay, how can I make, for example, Zn? I cannot make Zn because Zn is an element and it is found in nature, so its delta H will be 0. How can I make oxygen? Oxygen is also found in nature and I cannot make it, so its delta H is 0. Okay, so any element, its delta H will be 0. Any compound, you will have delta H value for it. Okay, now let's do this question. We have the heat of formation of some compound, and you need to find the enthalpy of the reaction below. Enthalpy, as we agreed, is heat. So I need to find delta H for this reaction. As we agreed before, delta H is equal heat final minus heat initial. In chemistry, final is products and initial is reactants. Okay, so I will find the heat of the reactants, and then I will find the heat of products, and then I will minus them to get delta H. Okay, yeah, let's start with the heat of products, and then heat of reactants. Heat of products, where are the products? Here, 3NO2 plus H2O. Okay, be careful, NO2 should be multiplied by 3, so I will say 3 times NO2 here, plus 33.9. Okay, now plus H2O, which is minus 285.8. Okay, now the reactants. These are the reactants. I have 2 HNO3. This is HNO3, and then I multiply it by 2. So I will say 2 times minus 173.2 plus NO. NO is 90.2. Okay, and then I find the answer, and then I say delta H equal H products minus H reactants, and then I find the answer. Okay, the answer will be 72.1. Positive. And the unit is like this, kilojoules per mole. Now, is the reaction endothermic or exothermic? If delta H is positive, the reaction is endothermic. Why? Because delta H sign is positive. Okay, so be careful. If there is a coefficient, you multiply the heat by the coefficient that is supplied, and then you put heat of products minus heat of reactants. Final minus initial, and then you find delta H. Okay, again, pause the video and redo the question by yourself to check if you understood or you did not. Now, this is the solution if you want to see the solution. Okay, now this question. Which of the following reactions represents the enthalpy of formation of ethane gas? As we said before, formation means forming or making. How can I make C2H2? I need carbon and I need hydrogen. So I need to combine carbon and hydrogen to give me C2H2, which shows carbon and hydrogen combined. This is the answer. Okay, same question here. You have C2H6, 7/2O2, 2CO2, 3H2O. Now these are called the reactants and these are called the products. Heats are given. This one is minus 84.7. CO2 is minus 394.5. H2O is minus 285.8. Now, two things I want you to be careful about. O2 is not given. Why it's not given here? Yes, its heat of formation is 0 because I cannot make it. O2 is found in nature. Now, the second thing you have to be careful about is that CO2, which means this number, should be multiplied by 2. This number should be multiplied by 3. Okay, now do heat of reactants, heat of products, and then do delta H. Okay, so the reactants will be only this. So it's minus 84.7 plus 7 over 2 times 0, which is 0. Now the products is 2 times minus 394.5 plus 3 times minus 285.8. Okay, and find delta H. I think the answer will be minus 1561.7. Okay, now pause the video and do the question again and solve and find the correct answer. Okay. One more question. Reactants, products, do H reactants, do H products, do delta H, and then find the correct answer. Pause the video and do your work. Now the correct answer is D. Okay, this is the lesson, the end of lesson 4. Hope you understood the video and it was beneficial for you.